All right, man. So let's move on to the other series in the Canadian division.
Okay.
We have Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers taking on Mark Scheifele and the Winnipeg Jets. So
Awesome.
I'll run down, just a few notes for everybody here with this series. So the Oilers and Jets played 9 times this season. Edmonton won the season series 7-2-0, outscoring the Jets 34-22 in total and 23-14 at 5-on-5. McDavid and Draisaitl combined for 14 goals and 34 points in 9 games against the Jets this season.
Yeah.
So we all know that they lit up the Senators this season, McDavid and Draisaitl, but I believe the Jets are number 2 on that list. Like, they absolutely torched Winnipeg this season. So they had a very difficult time containing those guys. And Lepore, another interesting stat I pulled up about this series. So Connor Hellebuyck, as we know, reigning Vezina Trophy winner, one of the best goalies in the sport. He finished the season with a .916 save percentage. And when you look at his save percentage against every team this season, it's really good. Like, it's like above 910, against some teams, it's like 920. His save percentage against Edmonton this season, 877.
Wow.
So
nice find.
Could it be a situation where if Connor Hellebuyck, returns to normal Connor Hellebuyck and just gives them like average goaltending, that maybe this series is a lot closer than people think? Because I think just the general sentiment out there right now is that this series is a wrap. It's Edmonton in like 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to hear your take on this series before I give my official prediction.
What I'd like to see there, the numbers I'd like to see, and I kind of base this on how you said McDavid and Draisaitl lit them up so bad and how Hellebuyck's save percentage was so bad. How many of their goals were on the power play? I'd like to
Winnipeg?
see. Yeah, I know you can quickly look, but like that's what I'd be intrigued to see, because like that's a big number. Mm-hmm. And that's on a small sample size of like that many games for Hellebuyck. But as you mentioned, I mean, the numbers that people are seeing, the record, they're pointing to Connor McDavid, the alien of the National Hockey League. They're seeing a Jets team that has not been good over the last stretch of the season. Well, they've been terrible, in fact, over the last stretch of the season. But I'm going to go a little different on this one. So I look at that Jets team, and what I do see is a lot of game breakers. We said earlier on the show that we love Connor. Scheifele is a beast. Wheeler has a lot of experience. They're going to be getting Ehlers back, correct?
Yeah. Nikolai Ehlers will I believe like it's like 99% he's going to be in the lineup.
Okay, so he'll be back. Hellebuyck is Hellebuyck. I think there's a general consensus among hockey fans that Paul Maurice is a good coach. And I'm not saying he's going to find a way to stop Connor McDavid, but I think he'll do as well as any coach can do to try to slow him down. So that all being said, I do have this being a heck of a series. Like we touched on, a lot of people think Edmonton's going to blow them out. But what I have here is I have a war, and I have a great series with some great goaltending from Hellebuyck. But I have Edmonton edging it out. I have Oilers in 7 in this one. I say Connor McDavid is just too much at the end of the day, and maybe we get a historical Game 7 performance out of him, something we can look back on from years to come. But I just think that kid is just too much, and he'll just, over a 7-game span, take over. But I do have the Jets putting up a heck of a fight, and I do have Hellebuyck playing very well. And I have like maybe some weird stuff happening in this series, like maybe the Jets win Game 1, or maybe the Jets go up 2-1 or 3-1, and the pressure's on Edmonton. But I have Edmonton edging them out in a tight series.
And Lepore, once again, I am right there with you. I have the Edmonton
fucking
Oilers
boring, man,
in 6 games in this series.
Okay.
And listen, I've been very tough on Edmonton this season. I mean, I've talked ad nauseum about them just being a complete disaster on the ice at 5-on-5 without Connor McDavid. And this will be another opportunity for me to bring that up. So the Oilers finished the regular season with a minus 209 scoring chance differential and a minus 17 goal differential without Connor McDavid on the ice at 5-on-5. So this team without Connor McDavid at 5-on-5 is basically like the Arizona Coyotes or worse, essentially, right? So that would be the one concern that I have, is that, if you're the Jets or even looking forward to the next series against the Leafs, like if you just find a way to contain McDavid and make sure that he's not, scoring 2 points a night, then you're probably going to have a really good chance to beat this team.
Yeah.
And especially going back to what I said about Connor Hellebuck, I mean, an .877 save percentage in 7 games against Edmonton this season, like that is not like Connor Hellebuck. So I think
it's very unlikely we see that in this series.
So if he figures out his game, I think we're going to have a closer series than people realize. And Lepore, you called it in 7. I think that's very much in play, especially with Ehlers coming back. Now, listen, I know I just said that there's like almost 100% chance that he plays. It's still sort of up in the air based on the reports that I've looked at. He skated at the last morning skate. He was in a non-contact jersey. I'm not exactly sure what the latest update is, but I'm under the impression that he's going to play in game 1 against Edmonton on Wednesday night. But yeah, I mean, this is a Jets team. They're very deep in the top 6. I have concerns about their blue line. Defensively, they're not great. Yeah. But if Connor Hellebuck can play the way that we know he can play, then this series is going to be a lot closer than people think. But at the end of the day, Lepore, based on the season McDavid's having and how him and Draisaitl have just absolutely torched this team, and I think there's just something going on here where Winnipeg just hasn't been able to figure out a way to contain Edmonton offensively. I just see the Edmonton winning this series, and quite frankly, I think it's probably the only series the Oilers are going to win this season. So I got the Oilers in 6.
Yeah, like to your point about those numbers about the Oilers with McDavid on the ice and with him and without him on the ice, I think someone could respond to that and say, yeah, but they do have Connor McDavid and he plays a lot of minutes. But where I think that comes into play, especially like to defend you, would be, I think that stat becomes more significant the better team you play. 100%. Like, I think when you play teams that have the depth, it's like, yeah, you can't just have one guy dominating and winning series against good teams, or it's very, very unlikely. So like, I think we kind of see that could happen because with the Jets, they have been weak down the stretch. As you mentioned, their blue line's not the greatest, but as you move forward, yeah, like if you're playing a team that's got very good, say, second and third line depth, I think you're in a lot of trouble because, I mean, McDavid can't play 60 minutes, right? So
exactly. And just as a comparison, the Colorado Avalanche, President's Trophy winners, the team that most people think is the best team in the National Hockey League, well, guess what they did without Nathan MacKinnon on the ice? A plus 264 scoring chance differential and a plus 20 goal differential at 5-on-5 without their best player, who is objectively a top 5 player in the sport. Without him, they dominated teams this season.
They're a wagon, man.
Yeah. That shows you, right? That shows you how one team with Nathan MacKinnon is considered the Stanley Cup favorites, and Connor McDavid having one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen. The Oilers finishes the 11 seed in the NHL, right? Yeah, exactly. So that paints the picture.